A little of Grenada's folklore. Just like the ancient Greek, we too have our superstition, our folklore. We read of Medusa the Gorgon and Hercules and Atlas who held the world on his shoulders, but we too had our superstition and have our superstition, our folklore. So a little bit of Grenada's folklore. Before I begin, let me ask a question. What is the difference between a ligaroo and an aeroplane? The answer is simple. An aeroplane have to taxi before takeoff. Not so the ligaroo. Why? Ligaroo just stays so and flying, taking off right away. No taxiing. And then there was a time a blind ligaroo flying in the air over the Grenada bunks up, almost bunks up. A cocky eye ligaroo. The cocky eye ligaroo said to the blind ligaroo, "Why you don't watch where you're going?" The blind ligaroo said, "Well, why you don't go here watching? You're watching one way and you're going somewhere else. Why you don't watch where you're going?" Now to the story. Now those were the days, years ago, of the ligaroo. Some people spell it Ligaroo, a little different from the French expression Loupgarous. The days of the ligaroo, the sukunya, and the lajabless, or the female devil. Grenadian folklore speaks of an individual we called Daddy Ojas, who met Elijah Bless by the rocks near Tantine, close to Tantine. You could see, you walk through the street and you make that little corner right there, you see it in the picture there, near the rocks. It was said, you see, I like to put pictures to my stories. It was said that that is the spot where Daddy Ojas met Elijah Bless. But he was captivated by her sweet talk. You see the Elijah Bless, the full of sweet talk, the good at that. So Daddy Ojas began chatting with the woman in the dark. But he got the shock of his life when he lit a cigarette and he looked down. Boy, he looked down. He saw the cow foot. You see, the Elijah Bless have one cow foot and one normal foot. Daddy Ojas took off with such a speed. You know, the man broke a wind. The wind killed 2 of Miss Cynthia's chicken. The Elijah Bless shouted, "You're lucky! I would have break your goddamn neck." Oh, poor Ojas ended up trembling like a leaf in his house. He was so disoriented that he washed his face with bay rum instead of water. Now, the ligaroo, the French expression word Loupgarous, was such a tough word to say that Grenadians just say ligaroo, Ligaroo. Grenadians got tired of pronouncing that hard French word, so most of them just said ligaroo. Ligaroo used to suck people blood every night. It was said that Nau, a man called Nau, and another one called Zung, were notorious ligaroos. But don't ask me about that, I don't know. People said that. Women used to wake up with big marks on their skin and knew for sure that a ligaroo had paid a visit. The marks were more easily seen on light-skinned women, of course. Now, I said about the notable difference between the ligaroo and the plane. You see, the ligaroo took off like a UFO. And as time progressed, boy, them ligaroo got so lazy, that they started riding motorbikes or driving cars. You know why? They had acquired a level of sophistication and were too lazy to fly. You see, when you get comfortably and going through all this flying thing. So they took motorbikes and cars, drove cars, rode motorbikes. And you know, some of them were so brave, those Lugaro, they march every year in the Queen's birthday parade. You remember when we had the Queen's birthday parade? Lugaro's marching in the Queen's birthday parade. Now a number of brave souls started taking action against the Lugaro. Some nailed a horseshoe over the door to keep them out. Others placed a bowl of rice or sand in front of the door to force that evil nocturnal intruder to count every grain before daylight. That, some said, was a sure way to trap a Lugaro. Then there were those who slept with their clothes before behind. You know, we have some nice way of putting things, you know, sleeping with clothes before behind. It was said by doing so, Lugaros kept away. And some people just put a big cross in front of the doorstep. The Lugaro Freight Cross. That's what they said, and holy water. Now back then, thieves thrived on the superstitious. Every vessel needed a soul, and it was believed that little boys were sacrificed to protect the boat. That was not a comforting thought for me or for anyone who passed those boats that were docked on the Grenada. Cocoa thieves, well, they scared people too. They placed a coffin right in the middle of the road near the cocoa trees. And people were so terrified to pass that area. So the cocoa thieves stole the cocoa with ease and in comfort. Now my mind have a way of going back, because this is what I do. I write a lot of stories documenting our history, our culture, and all those things. So my mind journeyed back with more speed than the Volkswagen car Mama Ed sold. Yes, sir. Or more speed than the way a Lugaro would fly. In those days, boy, we believe all kind of things. And that's cool. That's cool. Like the Irish people, nobody talk about them and the leprechaun. Nobody says, you know, it's something that we read about in books, yeah. And the Guyanese who spoke of the old hag or the fire ass, which is our Lugaro. We too had our myths that sent us scampering into the house on a dark night, or just fired our imagination. I still smile when I pass by the rocks above the fire station. It's close to the fire station on the top road. It was the top road. I smile because I remember the mythical tales, not only about the Kribo and its crown, but about Daddy Ojas at the latter place, and the funeral director, who some people said turned into sardine can or corned beef can or cake. They got the stories all mixed up. And that story dealt with a sailor, you know, who made that sardine can or cake or whatever back in time. So when I hear about those stories, I smile. And what about the Folklock that stood above the dead man's picture in St. Paul's? The man died, and from the time the man passed away, the Folklock went up on top of the man's picture, and it wouldn't come down. And busloads of people used to visit the house to see the Folklock staring at the man's picture. Now, I can't recall ever seeing a Kribo, but I used to look for them while I jogged down cocoa on my small trees in Manjaloo. I look for them to duff out, just in case I saw one. You know, back in the 70s, we had a lot of words we used. I don't hear them used now. You should duff out, cut out, you know. Movements, man, movements. Duff out. That came from the period when fellas used to look at you and greet you with the words, mankind, a man see you on Tyrrell Street. Back then, Tyrrell Street is Hubbard Blaze Street now. A man see you by the market and say, mankind. What the man say? Or simply, man. Well, everybody knew that the Kribo loved damn spots. And it was believed that he used to gallivant in the cocoa leaves. So as I picked the cocoa, I looked around whenever I heard a rustling of dried leaves. Sometimes the disturbance was caused by the slither of a small snake. And the snake and I would run away from each other. The snake going one way, and I go in the other. The size of a snake never mattered to me. A snake was a snake. Now I kept a small dried piece of wood nearby always, because they told me that if a Kribo grabbed my leg, all I had to do was to break the stick and fool the Kribo into thinking it had broken my leg, and it was supposed to release its hold. Yeah, right. Who would believe that? So I heard stories, a lot of stories about the Kribo nursing the breasts of the young mother, and of crowns that the Kribos wore on their heads. Boy, I had dreams of finding a crown, but I never wanted to find a Kribo. Nah. So you'll agree with me, eh? Like the Greeks, we too have our mythology. Now, in the year 2016, I brought together a number of storytellers, Grenadian storytellers, and I rented a place in Brooklyn, and I had them tell stories. I want to see how impressed I was with a gentleman called Clyde Vivek. If you really want to hear about Lugaroo and Grenadian superstition, talk to Mr. Clyde Vivek, Anthony Wendell the Riggs.